Hi, nice to see you again. So today I want to read you an article. I did a video that I haven't put out yet. I was kind of reluctant to put it out, but then I came across this article. It's written by Charles Hugh Smith. I saw it in Zero Hedge, but I'll leave a link to his blog so you can read this article and a bunch of the other really good articles that he's done. He's a writer. He's a freelance journalist. He worked in finance. He was also a commercial builder. So this guy has some varied experience, and it shows in his musings. But he wrote this one article that kind of supports what I'm saying in the other video, and it seemed too good to be true for me because I'm not used to having other people singing from the same song sheet. I'm not even sure that I really have one. But as you listen to it, I'm just going to read the article, and then I'll put the other video up so you can see what I mean. It'll only take a few minutes. A world without finance. We will enter a world without finance, and it will be a better world. For the economy will no longer be in thrall to the derangement and inequality of parasitic, predatory finance. A world without finance is currently unimaginable because finance is now synonymous with financialization. In this context, finance no longer refers to long-standing mechanisms that grease commerce, such as short-term commercial debt, purchase orders, etc., or long-term debt to finance the construction of new assets, mortgages, etc. A world without finance is unimaginable because the economy's growth and soaring inequality are now totally dependent on financialization. Finance is no longer about greasing commerce and the construction of assets, roles it played for thousands of years. Finance is now a vast skimming machine for the few to enrich themselves at the expense of many, a set of swindles that skims from what remains of the productive economy to benefit financiers, corporations, and speculators. In other words, finance is nothing more than a parasitic system that has wormed its way into every nook and cranny of the economy, where finance represented a few percent of the entire economy in previous decades. It now accounts for roughly 20% of the economy. Nothing but churn. He's too polite to say bullshit. Finance sells its services as hedges, but this is merely PR cover for predation. Finance creates no real world goods or services. It is a structure of exploitation that is more like a criminal syndicate than a sector of the economy. Given its parasitic, predatory nature, it's not surprising that finance is the primary engine of extreme wealth, income inequality. The fortunes of the few, assembled over the past 2 decades, largely trace back to the expansion of debt and leverage, i.e. financialization, which emphasizes marketing as consumption expands, not from earnings, but from the expansion of debt and leverage. The problem is parasitic predatory finance is inherently unstable, as it destabilizes the real economy by distorting every level of regulation and governance. It deranges incentives to reward the least civic-minded, the least ethical, and the sleaziest self-absorbed gamblers, those who demand a bailout when their private gains turn into private losses. We're too big to fail, they whine, and the naive public bought that fraud in 2008-2009. I predict a wholesale eradication of finance once the public digs its way out of the ashes of an economy burnt to the ground by financialization. Finance and central banking will be truncated, that's cut off to a stump, limited to the core functions of greasing commerce and the construction of productive assets. All the weaponry of parasitic swindles, all the scams of derivative swaps, corporate buybacks, etc. will no longer be allowed. Speculative gains will be so heavily taxed that those seeking wealth will be driven to actually generate real-world goods and services rather than financial frauds. Consider this chart of industrial production and the S&P 500 stock market index from 1924 to present, last 100 years. Note that stocks more or less tracked the ascent of industrial production until the dot-com bubble imploded in 2000, a point in time that introduced the dominance of financial bubbles and the offshoring of production, for example, globalization, as the generators of wealth and inequality. Finance has one product, credit asset bubbles that ensnare and then lay waste to the real world economy. The current bubble, the everything bubble, will be the last such bubble, as the diminishing returns of both financialization and globalization presage the end of their parasitic, predatory reign. Note that while industrial production has been essentially flat for the past 20 years, the stock market has soared to new bubblicious heights of speculative frenzy. When the everything bubble pops, there won't be a bailout of the swindlers and scammers, nor will a new and larger bubble replace the one that collapsed. We will enter a world without finance, and it will be a better world, for the economy will no longer be enthralled to the derangement and inequality of parasitic, predatory finance. Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself, which is why I put this one up. It actually seems music to my ears, considering the other video is kind of related to it, which you'll see because I'll be putting that one up shortly. Thank you for listening. Sorry this one was a little boring. There won't be any reading in the next one, but it's always nice to see you. Please have a nice day. Hi, nice to see you again. So today I would like to talk to you about the biggest problem in the world today. Has been the biggest problem in the world for a couple thousand years, maybe more, probably more. The problem that nobody ever talks about. It's the elephant in the room. It's invisible. You know, the pandemic, a lot of people can see the elephant in the room. But this isn't about the pandemic. It's not about the self-interested assholes that are willing to, you know, harm and kill people so that they can work humanity down to requisite size for maximum efficiency in administrating the production of human beings. Because that's what's happening. But that's always happened. It's always happened. And the only thing that's kept the psychopaths in power, and they are psychopaths because good people, the decent people, you know, the ones that hold the weight of the world on their shoulders and never ask for thanks from anybody, they do it just because they can. They're never those people, because these people, they only want power and control so that they can enrich themselves to get the things they want. Of course that's what it is. But this isn't. This great reset obviously isn't what the globalists had in mind, because it's failing badly. Even they can see that now. And it's not a new paradigm, you know, where the people have more control over the money system, over the finance system. No, what's really happening here that few can see, if anybody, I've never heard anyone else say it actually, is this is the death of money. Money's over. It's finished. It's no longer part of the paradigm. You don't have a money system, nobody can get advantage over anybody else. The natural reset with human beings, the real reset to the natural state, is the thing that defines us, especially as a group, as a human family, big dysfunctional human family, is that the things we care about the most are the care and attention of the weakest members of our society, which can be anybody depending on how they're feeling for whatever reason. But attending to the weak and vulnerable is the thing that kind of defines us as a species. Nothing else really does, because we're complex, we're curious, we're all over the map, you know, we're selfish, we're suckers, all these things, right? Everybody is different. But that only psychopaths will ever jump into the chair and grab the controls when somebody says, we need somebody to take over. Of course it's them, because they're feathering their own nest. They don't give a shit about anybody. My audience, you, relative to the rest of the world, where there's a lot of grinding poverty, relatively affluent, right? Well, more than half of you, pre-pandemic, your lives would have been ended on an economic or a monetary decision. That's the world we live in. The one we would live in if the assholes actually got their way, started up this new central bank digital currency, this new money system, 100% of everyone, everywhere in the world, would have their natural life ended early. when their production started to flag, when it wasn't sustainable anymore. That's what they have in mind. Of course, that's not going to happen. But why fool around with another money system and say, hey, well, we'll take finance, the casino out of the equation? You're going to have to kill a lot of people to be able to do that. I'll tell you right now. But getting rid of money altogether, piece of cake. Piece of cake. I'm no communist. Who do you think started communism? You know? People in the world aren't equal. They never will be. We're all so different. With good reason. I'll probably cover that in the near future in another video. But for this one, I mean, communism, socialism is a system that was set up because it's the easiest way for the self-interested psychopaths, the hidden ones nobody can see at the top. It's the easiest way for them to bilk an entire society, whole countries worth of suckers, while they get by on the bare necessities. You know, where does all of the production go? Where does all the money go for all of the production? Well, of course, it goes to the people that came up with it, that have been selling equality. You can't have equality while you have a money system. It's impossible. Because it has nothing to do with ability, intelligence. It doesn't have to do with gender or sexual proclivity or any of the other shit that they throw at everybody to divide and conquer them. People are different for a reason. Because in human societies, there are some jobs that I would just abhor. I would look at it and say, who the fuck could do that without shooting themselves? There's lots of people that can. 23% or more of the population are good at doing the things that I loathe, but the jobs that I'm willing to do, yeah, they would feel even worse about those things than I do about theirs. That's what makes the world go around. That's what makes us special. Nobody's ever seen that. Because when you have a monetary system, when you have an instrument of value that doesn't have any real value at all, and, you know, talk to me about silver and gold and blah, 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 like, fuck that. Fuck that. It's ridiculous. Why do we need money? Everybody could have clean water, good food, roof over their head. We could make that happen in a heartbeat. Nobody has to pay to breathe. You know? You can fog a mirror, you qualify. All the things you want, everything that modern society has to offer. Yeah. Because who makes that shit? We do. Who extracts the resources? We do. Who moves it around? We do. Who gives a shit? We do. Who doesn't? They don't. We don't have to kill them all. If we killed them all tomorrow, there'd be a new group of them in 50 to 60 years. Money is the problem. We don't need money. Money's over. And the best thing about being able to say that is A, I'm right, and B, nobody's going to feel threatened by it because it seems so fucking crazy. But 10 to 15% of the population of this earth could run it without a hitch right now, and everybody could have everything they want because we own this world. All of us. And the one thing where equality does count is that if you're fogging a mirror, you're 1/7.5 billionth owner of this world. You've always been. The elephant is that you can't see that. They can't either. But you can now. And there's a reason I'm telling you. Because it has to start somewhere. And it has. Nice to see you again. Please have a nice day.